So we are recording now. I just went recording live. We keep forgetting to have you do the disclaimer, but we'll have you do one. Burke, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, so just for the purposes of this recording, Patricia, we're going to be talking about you, your case, your family, your children, and your legal case with me. Do you waive attorney-client privilege to allow us to record this and discuss it tonight?
Yes, I do.
Okay, perfect. So I'll just start with a little recap of where we left off last time, because I did listen to the recording. We had just left off right on about March 27th, which was the day of the first day of what was supposed to be their permanent orders hearing. So I had said that we had to have a hearing that morning. Basically, we didn't know if we were going to have the full hearing or not because Tisha Strawn, who was the child and family investigator appointed to the case, had filed a report that was very suspicious. Looked like it had been tipped in Ricky's favor pretty significantly, and Patricia and I filed a complaint that had to be presented to our court through a hearing so that we could decide whether or not the judge would accept this report or kick it out. So we had the hearing on that morning, and the judge basically, I think I mentioned it last time, we didn't know if we were just going to have the hearing on Tisha or if we were going to have to do the whole divorce hearing, because the judge had told us a couple days before that hearing, in an emergency hearing, that depending on how he ruled on the issues with Miss Strawn, we may or may not divorce these parties on March 27th and 28th. Yes, Kirk.
So, quick dumb question. What is permanent orders hearing? Is that like permanent, like the divorce things?
Yeah. Yep. So if you remember earlier in the case, we had temporary orders, and that's where Ricky got his every other weekend of parenting time and like that. So there's kind of two things that are in a divorce case. There's the temporary orders part, which is like what happens while the case is pending. And so sometimes like child support and parenting time may model in the permanent orders what the temporary orders say, but not usually. And so temporary orders are just kind of to get us through the case, and then permanent orders are like the final disposition of everything. So it's the final parenting plan.
Just wanted to make sure I was understanding more.
Yeah. So essentially what Patricia was hoping for was that she was going to be divorced on March 28th. We were set for a day and a half hearing. We didn't get done with the hearing that day, I can tell you that. We actually didn't have a hearing on the 28th because on March 27th, we had the hearing with Tisha. And in that hearing, I believe I don't remember if I said it last time, but I'll try to keep it brief. She was sworn in. The judge started the hearing. He started questioning her before either Ricky's attorney, or I were able to talk to her or call any witnesses. And he asked her if she had texted somebody about this case. And she had to... which we don't know exactly what the text message said. We had literally no clue that she had done this. I was ready that morning to prove that she and Ricky had gotten together on February 8th and wrote this report, and then got together again in March and came up with a fake 6 pages. And that's what I was ready to argue. And so in the first 5 minutes of the hearing, the judge...
Everything got flipped from
upside down. I honestly think, I had ulterior motives, so I kept the hearing going for half a day. I'll admit that. Because I wanted to prove that Ricky was colluding with her. But judge didn't let me go there, and I think I know why he didn't let me go there. Because if he did make a finding that Ricky had done something like that, I think that there was a potential that Ricky would say that Judge Plew was biased, prejudiced, and then he would get kicked off the case and put us right back at square one. And so I think, total speculation on my part, but I do think the judge was sort of saving me from myself. And Kirsten, I think you'd agree. It sucked for us, but as a result of what happened in that hearing, the majority of the evidence that I utilized in her ultimate permanent orders, which happened in August, a lot of it came in the months after this hearing up until our hearing in August. Ricky created a lot of evidence for me to use against him. So we had the hearing. I called Tisha Strawn first. I questioned her. She said I was mean to her. I don't remember exactly. Tricia, do you remember what she said?
Yeah, she said exactly that. You were mean to her.
That I was mean to her.
You just affected her.
You know what? In fairness, I probably was. However, I was mean to her because I tried repeatedly to say, hey, please don't do this. Hey, if you think you're biased, you should please remove yourself from the case. Hey, these parties are spending a lot of money and their family is in chaos. Please don't do this. I tried it repeatedly. And then I tried going to Rich for weeks, months, saying, Rich, this is a problem. Come on, let's be reasonable. This isn't going to work. Rich, please don't do this. Come on. So yeah, by the time the hearing rolled around and I'd gotten dicked around by both of them, I was pretty pissed off. Oh, that's fair. But yeah, basically, Judge Clue told her it didn't matter if I was mean to her. She still had to do her job. And then she admitted under oath that she did not provide me the same records as Rich. She definitely lied to Judge Clue under oath. Judge Clue directly questioned her about the additional 6 pages because it was very apparent. Like, this was like kindergarten subterfuge. It was very apparent that the 6 additional pages were responsive to us filing a complaint, and she had lied about, I forgot them. It was, and Judge Clue hammered her on that. And then had us take a break. Patricia and I went to Pizza Hut for lunch. And when we came back, we still didn't know what was going to happen. We did not know if, I kind of knew. The minute I found out the text message had happened, I was like, oh, she's in trouble. But, we still didn't know. And we showed up that afternoon at 2:00. Basically, Patricia was removed from the case. The judge did admonish her. He was pretty stern with her. He ordered her to be back there. And I don't remember exactly what he said. I think he said that she would get in trouble if she did not return. She was not taken into custody or arrested, but he did find that she had committed serious violations. He didn't find for all of the violations we requested. He did not find for the bias and prejudice. He did not find for the lack of training. I agree with the lack of training one because I really couldn't prove what her training was. I only had what she told me. But as to the bias, I don't agree with that one. But again, I think he was maybe doing that to try and preserve his jurisdiction because we don't have a good judge that could handle this. And I think Judge Clue knew that. I told Patricia, we have 2 judges that could have gotten this case. And, well, Kirk, you've heard quite a bit about Judge First. So in a case like Ricky's, I'm sure you could imagine how challenging it would be to have William First be the judge on this case. And that's
I imagine Patricia would be in jail right now for something.
I told Patricia, and Patricia, thank God, has no experience with that. She never had to deal with him. But I told Patricia right from the beginning, didn't I, Patricia? I said, the best thing that's ever going to happen to you is this case was assigned to Judge Clue. You should praise God. Because
that is true.
I told her that from the beginning. I was like, this is such a blessing. You have no idea how lucky you are. Because I remember just cringing, being like, God, it's going to end with First. And thank God it didn't. Thank God it didn't.
Yeah, she probably would have coughed in court or something, and then it would have got tossed.
What would have happened, actually, is he wouldn't have done anything to her. What he would have done is he would have continued to yell at me and call me names while Ricky was enjoying picking on her through me. And Patricia would have ultimately ran out of money. And Patricia would have felt like, just like my other clients where I told him, hey, I'm going to let you in if I'm your lawyer. So.
Well, actually, probably happened.
What's that?
What would have probably happened is he would have dropped the protection order and all of a sudden I'd disappear off the face of the earth.
Yeah, he would say it was grounds for it was that she was using it to gain a custodial advantage. That's one of the ones that the lawyers who represent
and then Ricky would have taken
abusers like to use a lot. What'd you say?
And Ricky would have taken me out.
Yeah, no. For it was a blessing. First didn't get appointed to this case, and you know what? I don't even feel bad saying this because maybe he would have done something different, but his track record in the other cases I was involved in and other cases I've heard about that I was not involved in, Judge First has absolutely no business ruling on family and children cases. It's terrifying. So luckily we didn't have to deal with that. But so Tisha was removed from the case. She looked like hell at court too. So unprofessional. Her shoes were like, you know how like people wear shoes and their like soles come loose from the bottom? Like tennis shoes, like old tennis shoes. She came to court with those. Like
she looked hungover.
She didn't look like she had showered.
It
wasn't good. What'd you say?
She just looked nasty. She looked hungover and dirty.
Yeah, she did not look good. And well, so tell them about the email tracking.
Okay, so right after all this started, I thought I was reading something online. I was looking up something and it went down a rabbit hole. And then I found out that you could actually put trackers on your emails. So I paid for a year of the service and every email I sent to anybody was put on a tracker. So come to
So it
find
was
out,
it was like a read receipt.
yeah, it's like a read receipt, but with more details.
Mhm.
Like you could tell that they forwarded it. You couldn't tell who they would forward the email to, but you could tell it's forwarded, when it was opened.
So if she sends something to Tisha, who is prohibited from sending something just to Rich and Ricky, she's required to send everything to both of us. If Tisha sends something to her and suddenly her email is forwarded somewhere, we don't know who she forwarded it to, but if she didn't forward it to me, she's either breaking her duty of confidentiality or she's sharing stuff with Ricky and Rich. So we could tell what she was doing with the email. We couldn't tell who, but we could tell there was things amiss, and we could tell that she wasn't opening some of them. And then I think the night before the hearing, is that right, Patricia? She opened a bunch of emails that Patricia had sent her that she had never even read.
Yep, we could tell because you could tell how many times they're opened and how long they're read. Like it was open on this day at this time for 30 seconds, a minute.
And we did that going back. I think you started doing that in January when she wasn't returning your phone calls.
Yeah, right, like end of December.
Because we started to get some spidey sense that something wasn't right. I'm like, and we at that point in time we had no concept that Ricky was involved. We just thought Tisha was fucking off. We didn't realize that they were working together. We didn't find that out until I think right before the hearing, if I remember correctly, the right before the hearing in March.
We found out when we got an unredacted itemized bill.
Yeah, she tried to redact her bill and gave. So CFIs don't bill the clients independently. Both clients have to pay her a retainer, and she just bills against it. So if they have $100 left, she just has to take the percentage breakdown and refund them the percentage breakdown difference. That's all it is. But yeah, she only would give us records of the time she spent with Patricia. And when I confronted her about that and said, "Why did you redact your bill?" She tried to say that, well, Trisha asked for it. And I'm like, no, she didn't. And so we finally got the unredacted bill. And that's when we saw that she had been working with Ricky very heavily through the entire month of December, while she had told Patricia she wanted to wait until after the holidays and did not return her phone call until January 5th, after Patricia called her. Yeah. And I emailed her.
The night before the hearing, she was hot and heavy into the emails, opening things, forwarding things. And then after that hearing, it died off for a while. And then for random periods of time throughout the case, she would start heavily opening these emails again.
She just opened one of them the other day, you think, right?
Yeah, the last full meeting we had, she opened Ricky's binder up.
Yep. Whenever we were looking through stuff. So, yeah, it further strengthens my belief that Tisha was illegally hired as a private investigator by Ricky and is continuing to work for Ricky and didn't disclose this to the court. And I'll just say, just to kind of finish up on Tisha, one of the things that's very, very odd is we've read the report. I have it. It's in my email box right now. I could open it up and show it to you. However, our court has ordered that report be sealed and all of the accompanying documents that are involved with that, because she filed a bunch of exhibits. That's when I ripped her ass and I said, "You are not a party to this case. These families have enough going on. They have enough going on without you messing this up. Don't you dare file something else." And the judge denied her motion and said, "You're not a party. Don't file anything." And so that's when she knew she was shut down. But every document that she filed, and I mean, it was quite a bit because she was trying to really stick it to me. She had like 48 exhibits that were completely non-responsive to my complaint. But everything's sealed. If I go to the court case file on online right now, I can see the entry. I can't open anything. And it comes up with a little alert that says document not viewable. And I don't know why they would seal it, because they can strike it. That's fine. But I have a suspicion that she might be being investigated. I don't know that for a fact, but...
Well, her investigation that we filed with the state is sealed as well. We can't see that.
Yes, that actually is true. So the whole point of us doing this hearing was because the way that they have the current complaint process, instead of Patricia directly complaining to the judicial branch in Denver, she has to go through my judge here, which again, imagine what a nightmare that would have been if she had first. Imagine exactly what would have happened. But she has to go through our judge here for him to review her complaints. And I understand why they have that fail-safe in there, because CFIs are usually only in really high conflict cases. And I'm sure you can understand the misconduct and the invalid complaints that could arise from like a parent who's like a drug user who just says, oh, they're just targeting me or something like that. So I understand why they have it in there. But it still sucked. But that's the whole point of the thing. So we wanted to make the complaint. Patricia and I did. But then Judge Plew made his own complaint. The judge is allowed to make the complaint too. But because Judge Plew made his complaint like a day before Trisha made her complaint, they basically kind of acted like Trisha didn't make a complaint. And then whenever I called up there to say, hey, we've been waiting patiently to hear on this, your own documentation says you're supposed to give us a response within so many days, I was told over the phone by, I believe her name is Jamie, the lady who heads up the CFI program, that, well, yeah, sorry, we forgot to send it to you, and we can't really give you any information about what we found. And I said, well, my client wants to get her money back. And they were like, yeah, sorry, like, we can't really help you with that. But it says it right in the rules they can, but I don't have an ability to go and have Patricia file suit, nor does Tish have any money. But I can't go to a lawyer and say, hey, I want you to file on this for, defamation, because I can't use a report. It's sealed. So I think there's something really strange about that. Either that or the Colorado government is trying to actively hide misconduct. I don't know which. But Patricia, I don't know if you saw the article about that lady that was pretending to be a PRE. I showed that to Kirk the other night.
Yes.
Yeah, I showed that to him. So I'm like, why? I mean, I kind of understand with her PREs, if she's representing she's a psychologist, it's a little bit worse than Tisha representing that she's a detective. But at the same time, if they're going to arrest and charge that lady, why aren't they arresting and charging Tisha? She fucked up numerous cases. Every case she was involved in actively when she got pulled from the roster had to start over from scratch. Those people all had to pay another CFI for their work. They had to come up with new money. And she messed up a bunch of families' cases because she wanted to pay for play with Ricky Thompson.
I know. And the sad part is, during that whole thing, he threw her under the bus, but she wouldn't stop lying for him.
Oh, yeah. I forgot to say this, too. After it was over, Ricky tried to file a complaint against Tisha as well, saying that he actually thought she was biased against him because she went too easy on Patricia in her recommendation.
Yeah, he wanted me crucified. She didn't crucify me, so he was upset about that and pointed out, well, all this other stuff she should have said in there, and she didn't say it in there. Therefore, that's why she was biased for me.
Yeah, yeah.
Because she didn't come down hard enough on me.
It was ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
And then you could tell they were working together, because then they put his complaint into her report part of it.
Yeah.
Her 6 pages.
Yeah. So, anyways, do you have any questions about Tisha Strawn, Kirk?
Just a Jason question. Just out of curiosity, the email tracker program, how much does that cost you?
It was $120 for the year.
Okay. I was debating. I'm like, is it going to be as cheap as 40, or would they go up to 100? Or okay. I'm curious, because I didn't know such a thing was available for commercial customers. Yeah. So. Cool.
Alrighty, so that covers the Tisha Strawn bit, and so what ends up happening at the end of that hearing, we actually kind of had what I'd call sort of a status conference, where we discussed the tax issue, because at this point in time, if you remember from the last recording, we had previously made an agreement with Ricky and Rich for Patricia and Ricky to file their taxes together. Ricky had made a suggestion of a company called Rogers & Company. Patricia and Ricky had used that before, although Patricia never went in. She was just always presented with the paperwork and asked to sign with their previous tax returns. But because they had a history with that company, her and I kind of talked about it, but I was like, I couldn't see that a CPA would do anything wrong. Sounds like a great idea. And damned if Ricky didn't manipulate the CPA just like he did with Tisha Strawn. Because as soon as we started trying to get information from Dan Rogers, was that his name?
That is correct, Dan Rogers.
As soon as we started trying to get information from him, he got very defensive with Trisha, just like Tisha did to Trisha. And very rude with me. And then suddenly I was being threatened by a lawyer, and I finally laid out an email to his lawyer, and then his lawyer was like, "Wait, what? He didn't give her the records?" And I was like, "No. He's been treating her like a criminal. I have their signed retainer agreement with your firm. We're gonna sue the shit out of you, dude." And then his lawyer was falling all over himself to get us records. But what we found was, in the day, I believe, before the Tisha Strong thing happened,
Yeah, the night before,
Ricky decided to go into the tax preparer and change the taxes and directed this gentleman to file Ricky's taxes separately from Trisha's, and then was trying to demand that Trisha pay. They had a tax liability of, was it $6,000?
no, it was $36,000.
No, $36,000 was the amount that you were taxed on.
No, it was a huge amount. It was.
Was it that much?
No, it was 6,500.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so this is what happened. Rich kept saying, "Well, Trisha needs to pay for half of the taxes because of capital gains," and I've been asking Rich repeatedly, "Rich, what do they have capital gains on?" Because I wasn't getting any financial documents. Well, what we were getting capital gains was the Charles Schwab shit that Ricky sold without Patricia's knowledge in August and July of 2023. He had sold and had not held the shares long enough, so they had $36,000 in capital gains they were taxed on, leaving them a tax liability. And he was trying to do the married filing separately, and basically stick Trisha. Sorry, I keep getting those names mixed up. I apologize, Trisha. That he kept trying to stick her with the tax liability for the rental income on his rental properties and the capital gains on the Charles Schwab money that he cashed in and put into accounts in his own name. And I said, "Go pound sand, dude. Not happening." And so Ricky was freaking out because he wanted to pay the taxes on time, and he kept demanding money from me through, and I'm like, Rich, if you think we're going to agree with you again after this nonsense, you can think twice. We're never negotiating with you again. We will never agree with Ricky again, because he's a liar. And so are you by extension, because you knew what you were doing. And you just call me a liar in front of my judge. So now I'm going to prove it. Rich tried to say that we didn't have a deal when I had all the emails. And I was like, okay, well, now I get to turn them in. So you want to make this right? And so what ended up happening was we agreed to not file the taxes. Well, we didn't agree. Ricky couldn't file them without Patricia.
No, what happened is April 15th, Ricky Thompson panics because he thought I would panic and pay and agree because he thinks I'm scared of the government like he is. Well, the morning of April 15th, the man loses his mind, goes down and files an extension and pays the taxes.
He paid the taxes, but he didn't file the taxes. He puts the money in there.
Because you got to pay him to do the extension. So he paid.
He thought the judge was going to stick her with the bill. So
well, not only that, but he thought it would make him look good.
Yep. So anyways, we're dealing with that nonsense. And in the meantime, the judge decides the judge at this point is realizing the CFI is absolutely necessary. So I had mentioned that Tisha had filed that little supplemental report claiming that Trisha needed a mental health evaluation. And the very next tactic Ricky tried was that Trisha was mentally ill. He tried that numerous times. He tried to say numerous things about her.
He couldn't come up with any examples. He just
said that she was mentally ill and she was dangerous and she needed to have a mental health evaluation. So initially, Trisha and I were going to object to it. I mean, this is immediately after hearing, like a week later. I had driven all the way from Kansas to Colorado for that hearing, wasted my time. We had a hearing for half a day. I don't charge Trisha for me to travel because I go back there to do other stuff, like storage unit and stuff like that. But I could have saved the trip. It wasn't her fault though. But so Ricky starts hammering, to Rich. Rich keeps sending me these emails of Trisha's got these mental health issues, and I'm like, okay, Rich, what is Ricky alleging that she's done? And that's something that, Kirk, I use that tactic for me when people start making false accusations. I'm like, okay, what did I do? When did I do it? And what did I say? Because you're saying I did this, and I don't recall doing that. But if you're right, I'll take accountability. And so that's where I was like, Rich, what did she do? And he could give us nothing. He could literally give us nothing. And so initially we were going to object to it, but then I said, hey, Trisha, let's play him. Let's play this right. So I called Rich back. We came up with a deal, and I said, you know what, Rich? I'll tell you what. since both of our clients are making accusations of child abuse and domestic abuse against the other, why don't we do this? Let's have both of them consent to going to a custody evaluator approved psychologist, the same one, and they're both going to sign releases of information to the lawyers and the clients for everything. They're going to take the same exact assessments and they're going to turn them into the judge. How about that? And she'll pay for hers and he can pay for his. What?
But remember, before that, he had offered to pay for mine. He had someone.
Oh, that's right. He had. Rich wrote me this really sad, sack email like, he'll pay for hers. He just wants her to get help. And I was like, okay.
He had said he had already picked one out. He had it paid for. All I had to do was show up.
Yeah, and we're like, no, we're not going to pick anybody with Ricky's choosing. We will pick a court-approved custody evaluator psychologist. And so, basically, as soon as I said that, then suddenly we were back to something different. Then it was, can Trisha pay for the property taxes? That's the whole thing. This is a trick you learn with Ricky. The second you brick wall him on something, he'll just divert course and try something new. You brick wall him on that, he'll try something new. You brick wall him on that. So for a hot minute, the request for psychological evaluations went away. And so a new CFI gets appointed to the case. Her name is Tommy Hansen, and she does not live anywhere close to Cortez.
6 hours away.
She was in Fort Collins. I don't know exactly how she came to be chosen. I've speculated a little bit because I know there's closer CFIs, but she was an attorney, which I think is one of the benefits. We don't have a ton of attorney CFIs. I was one of the only ones in the area. And I believe that she also had the domestic. I knew that she had the domestic violence training that was required. I'm certain that there's probably a little vetting through the judge's office to get a good CFI. She did everything remotely because neither party's house was alleged to be a danger. Right? Didn't she? She didn't meet you.
She met us once, but she did. Yeah, she actually, we did it over the phone, and then she came to the house and spoke with me, and then spoke with the children by themselves.
Okay, I didn't realize she had come down here.
She had done Ricky the day before, and then she was doing
the boots. I forgot. Yeah.
Yeah, we got to tell the boots story. So.
Yeah. Okay.
Before you do boots, you said that she's a good CFI. Is there like a grading scale on that or anything?
Okay. No, did I say good?
Yes.
I don't think I said that word.
Good. Well, you said that they were going to bring in a good CFI, and it just occurred to me that I wasn't sure if there was any kind of rankings.
No, what I'm saying is the CFI who would have the proper credentials.
Okay.
The CFI who would have the proper credentials, and I mean, I can tell you this. In the CFI process, there's attorney CFIs and there's non-attorney CFIs. And the PRE is really more like psychologist, but so attorney and non-attorney. I can tell you, Amy Long is a CFI. Amy Long's credentials she's a daycare provider. She doesn't have a background in the law. She's learned the law because she's a CFI, but her credentials are she holds a licensure in early childhood development, and that's her credentials. She has no legal background. So there are certain cases where if it's more of a kid issue, I will use a mental health professional or a child professional like that. If it is a legal issue, like this case kind of had both, but I would say the legal issue is the bigger issue in this case. I would absolutely be requesting an attorney CFI. And Magistrate Kristen Taryn, actually is a CFI. However, he couldn't have been ours because she presided over the initial temporary orders. She was assigned to do that temporary orders hearing. So she was conflicted off. So I'm assuming probably part of the reason they got Tommy is so Ricky couldn't manipulate her because she wasn't nearby, and she had the attorney background on the training. That's my guess. Might have been, but I don't think so. I don't think that pick was random at all because I've never heard of that woman. I know there's other attorney CFIs that are closer to us that they could have used. I think the judge did that for a reason. I think he wanted someone completely neutral and unbiased. And here's to him for that, if that's what he did. Because
it occurred to me it was maybe worth just talking for a second about how that happens.
Right. Yeah, no, there's not really just CFI is just like any profession. They can get biased. There's one CFI, I won't say their name on here, But I've talked to a number of attorneys about this particular CFI, and none of us want to use that person because we know that person has a bias against men. If we have a male client and if we hear that person's name mentioned, I'm like, no, we don't want her. We do not want her. And I've talked, like I said, in private phone conversations with other lawyers, including lawyers I respect. We've all been like, oh my god, how did she get on the list? She sucks. Yeah. So,
Okay. No, fair enough.
Just so you know. Okay, and then so Tommy comes on the case, and so Patricia, go ahead and talk about that
first, though, on these boots.
Oh, yeah, boots.
So what happened is before every visit that we learned later on with Tisha, that he always scheduled his visits on Sunday with Tisha, because on Saturday he would take the girls out and have a big day of spending money, fun activities, things like that. So right before Tommy Hansen's in-person visit, that Saturday, he took the girls out and bought Hannah some cowboy boots. Hannah's a big cowboy boots fan. That's all she wants to wear. That's her thing. So he took the ones she wore from my house, told her they were skanky, and took them away and gave her these brand new sparkly boots.
right before the CFI came to visit his house.
Correct. That Saturday, she came Sunday.
And so what happened is, oh, Daddy got these boots for me, and then the very next day, she interviewed the kids at Trisha's house, and Hannah was wearing the sparkly boots. Like, oh, look at what my daddy got me. To us, it was very deliberately like a little passive aggressive move by Ricky. And he actually tried to argue in the hearing that the boots were dangerous and submitted pictures of the soles of the boots that Patricia had as evidence to try and claim she was endangering the children.
Which he had done in his first divorce.
Yeah, remember we talked about how he and his ex-wife had the fight over the Waylon's shoes, and he took him and bought him a $10 pair. Yeah, it's exactly the same fucking thing. He does the same shit over and over again. It's creepy. But so Tom,
how old was the daughter when he said that her boots were skanky?
8.
She's 9.
9.
8. 9.
9.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. All right.
Yeah. So, Tommy Hansen's involved. Mental health stuff stalled out. Ricky is now refusing to pay property taxes, trying to demand it from Patricia. I'm telling Rich. What?
Remember, he let the car insurance.
Oh yeah, he was going to let her car insurance go away because the payment was due on the day of our hearing, and he thought the judge was going to just grant his request that day, and he was going to walk out of there victorious, and so he didn't pay a bunch of their bills.
Yeah, he let it lapse.
He didn't pay child support on time.
Yep.
So, anyways, we're just kind of waiting. I'm still trying to get discovery from Rich now. We're trying to deal with getting the information from the tax preparer because they're dicking us around. And then we get up to a hearing. We were supposed to have a hearing in June. Well, Tommy Hansen's report, I believe, was due May 20th. Does that sound right?
Yeah, it was due May 20th.
May 20th. So Tommy Hansen is direct. Oh, I forgot to mention this too. Tommy Hansen, the judge said, okay, you guys didn't like the first CFI. We got to get rid of her. She's off the case. He didn't say that. What he actually said was, he knew I wanted him to find in Trisha's favor, but he said, it's not fair to either of you. You guys prepared for a hearing based on the information from Tisha Strawn, which, in fairness, even though I think it was contrived evidence on Ricky's part, true statement by the judge. And so the judge continued the hearing, and he invited both parties to submit a position on the scope of the appointment, because that's when Ricky started digging in on she's mentally ill. And so the judge basically said, hey, if you want the CFI to investigate something more, go ahead and submit proposed language to me. And we did, and Ricky never did. And ours said, I don't remember exactly, but it said something to the effect of, we want the CFI to investigate proposed relocation of both parties and the locations they propose. We want them to do best interest of children, and specifically domestic violence and coercive control. We want her to investigate that. Ricky never submitted anything. So Tommy's report comes down, and Ricky, copycat, files a complaint against her like we did against Tisha.
Claiming she was biased against me because she couldn't. It turns out Ricky had his mom and his sister, his family, play these games a phone tag with the woman, thinking that, well, if she never talks to us, we can use that against Trisha. Well, Ms. Hanson was a very good record keeper and had records of all the attempts of his trying to contact his people. And then, that's what his thing
Him calling like a day after the report was due, like, oh, I missed your call. And then they tried to use it against her in court because they knew the report wasn't going to go in her favor. So if they made it in his favor, if they made it look like she did a bad investigation, then Ricky could get out of it.
Hmm.
So we go back to court in, what is it then? Was it June? Yeah, June.
Yeah, June
17th, I think.
Yes.
I drive back to Colorado again for a hearing, and the judge says, well, we're not going to have this hearing because I don't have enough time for the CFI to respond to Ricky's complaint. So the CFI, we had to continue the hearing again. And at that point, I'm like, Judge, this is getting ridiculous. Ricky then demands a mental health evaluation from Patricia at that point in time. And I said, Judge, it's June. We were talking about this in March. You told Mr. Thompson. What?
He wanted a PRE at the same time, too.
Yeah, he wanted to get a parental responsibilities evaluator and continue the case out further. And I said, Judge, this is ridiculous. I offered to Mr. Sims, both parties could take a mental health evaluation. I offered that 4 days after our hearing in March. He completely blew me off. I suggested a mutual provider for them to both use. So there was some sort of measuring base, and they blew us off. Now, what I forgot to mention was, in the meantime, Ricky went and found a Christian counselor and had his own mental health evaluation done, where he presented the stories of what Patricia Thompson was claiming happened to her as if they happened to him, and he was the victim.
He told my story.
He was telling her stories as if he was in that position. So,
from the male perspective,
no, he actually took my story and made it his own. Like, he was me.
I have it.
It's dark.
I have it. Let me go see if I can find it. I probably not better say what's in it, actually, now that I think about it, because medical records.
Yeah, no, that's
no, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there.
That's okay. It's a bold move.
Yeah, we're not going to go there. I had it authorized for a certain purpose, but not for this purpose. So, anyways, no. So Tommy Hansen lit Ricky up for that pretty good in her report and said, "This man is not safe. This man is not telling the truth." I do believe Patricia. I think this did happen to her. His outdated views on women are really concerning, and I think he's misusing all of his children, including the adult ones. She did not like Ricky Thompson. She really didn't like Ricky Thompson after he tried to malign her career and lie about her in documents, which at this point in time, you should realize that's his only attack move. Every time things don't go his way, he never comes up with like rebuttal evidence. He just goes on the attack on anybody. In fact, I'm quite surprised he hasn't come after me yet, but I fully expect he's probably called the Bar Association on me a handful of times. But
yes, he has a if you have a license to work and you've gone against him, he's reporting you for something.
Yeah, I'm sure he's reported me, but luckily the Colorado Bar Association is pretty hip to that shit. I mean, think about how many opposing parties would call him, report their opposing attorney. So, I'll never know for sure, but I fully expect he has. Anyways, so, judge basically delays our hearing again, and we get set out again until August. At this point in time, we finally get a lawyer for the kids, Rachel Brock. They call it a child legal representative. It is basically, they have to be sort of approved through the state. It's kind of like the CFI program. They don't have to have a special licensure for it, but they have to be like approved by the Office of the Child Representative. And Rachel is one of those people. And so she comes on and she makes us a little nervous because we don't hear from her for quite a while. But at least we've got an attorney. The judge did not grant the request for a PRE or a mental health evaluation.
And that was funny because Ricky Thompson had already found a PRE for us and contacted them.
Actually, what really had happened is this. Who I know very well, and I told you, Kirk, about how PREs are leaving the profession in droves. She's one of the ones who has been threatened by a freaking narcissist in the past and has had her DORA license threatened and was thinking of leaving the profession. I had called about this case and about both of them and said, hey, would you be willing to do this? And then Ricky called her and misrepresented a ton of information. And so I know, and knowing her phone number, realized what Ricky was trying to do already. And I called her and said, hey, I just need to find out what Ricky Thompson's saying to you, because he's representing words of yours in the court, and I do not believe this man. And like, nope, I'm not willing to do the case. And she got out. And I'll admit, I don't think I did anything illegal or improper. Did I put influence on that? 100%, because I was not having this case delayed for a PRE, because I knew exactly how the PRE would go. And then we'd be having him ask for a duplicate PRE, undo that one. And I was like, nope, we're getting this case finished. And so Judge Plew reviewed Ricky's complaint against Tommy Hansen. The judge found absolutely no merit to the complaint and actually ordered Ricky to repay Tommy Hansen's personal fees that she had to incur in filing response. I think he had to pay her back like $700 or $800. Didn't give Trisha attorney's fees for that, but did give Tommy Hansen attorney's fees for that. And then basically let Mr. Thompson know, listen, we're having this hearing in August, and barring an extreme situation, we're going forward. So you better be ready.
So then it comes. So right after that, the girls come home saying Daddy's having surgery right around the time of our next scheduled hearing.
Jesus Christ.
He didn't, though. We had the hearing.
He didn't, though. I think he wised up a little, but he was putting it in their heads that Daddy's having this big surgery and won't be able to walk or do anything. And
no, is Rich not being used for this then, right?
Well, no, Rich is used for all of this. Rich is Ricky's mouthpiece. Pretty much anything that I'm saying that's happening, it's Rich telling me that through Ricky.
Rich is there. Okay.
100%, yeah. Yeah, and again, Rich is not acting like Rich. That always concerns me. And I think on more than one occasion said, do not speak to me like you are Ricky Thompson. Sorry, bud.
Yep.
You know you cannot talk to me like that. Not happening. And he got pissed at me once. He definitely hung up the phone on me, but I was like, Rich, this is fucking ridiculous. And you know it. You and I are colleagues. You know, we've done enough cases together. You know exactly what's going on here. And this is nonsense. You were costing her more money. Why? So, we finally have the hearing in August. I don't really even remember it, Patricia. It's a blur to me. I've had so much crap going on.
It was
Go ahead and talk. I'm going to grab some water. Keep talking.
Okay, so it started out with Ricky trying to get Waylon Thompson more testimony time because he had already had a special day for his little boy to testify, which he just lied. It was hilarious that the judge just let that happen instead of saying, get this fool off my stand. He's lying through his teeth. So we start the hearing out, and we start out with, what did we start out? Oh, yes, we started, I can't even, we started out with Tommy Hansen's testimony.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that was, she held nothing back.
She did a great job.
She was awesome. She just said, look.
She basically said, I can't remember what, there was a phrase that she used in her report, but it was basically like, the only reality that Ricky Thompson can accept is Ricky Thompson's reality, and it's not real.
And that he lives in his own world.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty awesome.
And then
Rich, we've been trying to tell the court, we've been asking the court, we didn't mention it, but in a lot of our pleadings, we were asking the court to have a mental health assessment of him.
Well, we were given all these solid rock examples of this mental health issue with this man, and nobody
over
cared.
and over and over. Documented
we had
thoroughly.
Solid rocks, and nobody cared.
We forgot to mention this too, the Josh Mays situation.
Yes.
Yeah, so let's just sidetrack real quick. So leading up to the divorce proceeding, to the final one, I had recommended to Patricia, like I do with most of my clients that have children that are going through this, hey, you need to get your kids into counseling while this is going on. A lot of times kids go to counseling therapy. It's just something for them to have a safe place to talk. We do not usually use therapy records because there's actually case law against it. And usually if you want to use therapy records, you have to have a guardian ad litem or a CLR unless you have Judge First who will let you get away with that. But in order to use records in a court case, because both parents hold therapeutic privilege for their children, there's this question of, okay, cool, well, if the parents are going to use this information from therapy that these children said against the other parent, that opens the door for a conniving parent to mislead child therapeutic professionals to get them to have the kids lie. And so, I had always told Patricia, we're not using this for evidence gathering. We're using it so that your kids are safe as we can make them be through this process. And after Ricky didn't get his way with the second CFI, Ricky started infiltrating the counseling.
It was actually the second time he reached out on Talking Parents app.
Yeah, they had absolutely no communication from the day she got the protection order. He emailed her 2 times in 9 months. And we knew. I said, you better be careful on those counseling records. And he started to corrupt the counselor. In fact, Patricia had to do a DORA complaint on the counselor because even though she had joint or sole decision making, which was in a court order, which we provided to the mental health facility Axis, they completely disregarded it and let Ricky Thompson cancel her sessions that she had scheduled for the children and try to schedule covert sessions with the children without Patricia's knowledge.
Yep. And he had sessions by himself with the therapist and tried to charge me for those.
Yes.
And
so I told Patricia, pull those kids out of that fucking facility and file a complaint against on that place right now. And she did. She did.
And the sad part is this therapist let Ricky so manipulate him that Ricky recorded him being coerced into lying.
Yep. Ricky records everything. Ricky recorded his own sessions and then provided him as proof that Patricia was abusive.
But yeah, he recorded this man. He recorded himself with this man coercing him into lying, keeping knowledge away from me about my children.
Yep,
about what they were planning.
True. Yes, that is true.
His therapy session that he was planning with him, and we got from the notes, was some kind of transition plan with the children.
This is the biggest thing. Her children didn't tell her that this was going on. Ricky was talking to them and confronting them with their therapy notes on his parenting time. Her children were admonished to not tell their mother about this. So all of a sudden, the children stopped speaking in therapy.
Just all of a sudden.
Wouldn't speak anymore. Would not speak. Stop talking.
Yep.
That's weird. That's weird.
The reason they were doing it is because they don't know what to do. If they say the wrong thing, they get in trouble with their dad because he's getting their records and he's reading them to them and saying, why did you say this? And they know that their safe place to talk is no longer safe. So I told Patricia, pull those kids out of there immediately. And she did.
Yep, because he found out that Rebecca had told the therapist Waylon was bullying her. And he found out and confronted her with it. Not only did he confront her with it, he put it in the first CFI's note. He had it in the notes for the court as an exhibit or something.
Well, yeah, and I say that was part of his Rebecca's a liar and she's lying for her mother.
But it also led to the awkward thing of there's nowhere to take them out there.
Yeah, so that's a problem. In Montezuma County, we have pretty much one mental health facility. There's a couple of private counselors, but the one that has the children's therapist, he compromised that facility, so we had no place to take them. So they didn't get therapy anymore. We pulled them out in July. Luckily, the hearing was in August. Sorry, go ahead. Oh, that was your 2 o'clock. So we had the hearing. Like I said, it sounds so crazy. I can remember all of this stuff, and the hearing is kind of a blur to me
because it was a blur.
I do remember his sister testified from Kansas or from Texas for like 10 minutes. His mother testified, and his mother, I remember I got her good because Patricia did this and Patricia did that, and I said, ma'am, isn't it true you haven't spoken to Patricia in over 3 years? Oh yeah. And I said, so is all of the information you're testifying to today, did you get that from your son, Ricky? Yes, I did. And I was like, okay, cool. No further questions. Thanks.
And
Really?
his sister couldn't even remember the year their father died. She's like, 20, 22, 20. She's like a day.
Here's another good one. I'll tell you this. Do you remember the reason that Ricky and Patricia, initially Patricia decided to really leave, was because Ricky was going to take the kids to Texas because his sister was going through a divorce? Remember that?
Yeah.
Didn't get divorced?
I asked her on the stand, ma'am, when did you and your husband get divorced? We're not divorced. I said, oh. Well, are you sure? Because that's why Ricky was going to take the children out to Texas away from Patricia back in August. You didn't get a divorce? All right, cool, thanks. No further question. He did have his the adult child come in and testify.
But he did it earlier. He had
that?
Remember, Waylon had to have a special hearing because he was
sorry, not Waylon. The non-adult child.
Oh,
come in and testify. Yeah. Who we heard was allowed to leave school early and was purchased a horse right before the hearing.
And now right during the hearing, Ricky said, well, my bank accounts aren't the most accurate because I just paid for her college. Because that was something that both Tommy Hansen and Rachel Brock hit on, was they both said on the stand when Rich says, well, isn't Ricky a good father? He has all this money. He can take care of him. And they both said it's not about money. He doesn't get it. Children need love and kindness.
It goes back to what you said that he used to tell his two children when he was badmouth. He would say, she has debt. Kids don't know what debt is. They don't give a shit. It's not a reason to not love their mom.
Well, yeah.
So does almost everybody.
So anyways, hearing goes. I don't believe the judge issued any orders that day, except for he did enter the permanent protection order.
Yes.
100% he entered the permanent protection order. And even actually Rachel Brock. So there's only 2 counsel tables. And so we have a third lawyer because we have the children's lawyer there now. And so she actually ended up sitting at our table, but she kind of sat around the side, which I'm sure pissed Ricky off. But
he had offered to let her sit right beside him.
I didn't see that. We should have we should have.
You were
out of let her do it. I wish I would have let her sit down there and deal with that bullshit. She would have argued twice as hard for those kids. But
both professionals said this man should not have visitation with these children.
Rachel Brock did it in a very delicate way. I actually think that the way she handled it was really, really good, because she basically kind of told the court, like, but also said it in a way that was very polite. Like, I think he genuinely believes what he's saying, but that's why I think it might be beneficial for him to go get some mental health treatment. Testified. The lady from the church who he threatened, that letter came in. It was a very good witness for us to call. Judge Flew was very, very, very compelled by her. In fact, he mentioned her to Ricky whenever he gave his orders. When he did divorce them that day. And he issued a decree that day and said, I'm going to basically reserve ruling on the parenting issue and on the child support issue. But he did admonish Ricky at that. Sorry, what did I say?
It was the parenting and the finances.
Finances, thank you. He did admonish Ricky at that hearing and said, you evicted your wife. You didn't spend all the money. I can see you took it, but you financially deprived her. You isolated her from her church. You scared church parishioners. Like, this is not okay. And so he entered a permanent protection order. So we walked out of there that day with 2 orders. A divorce decree. Congratulations, Patricia. That was on August 14th, 15th?
August 20th.
August 20th. And then we had the permanent protection order, which said she did not have to disclose her future address to Ricky. He has to remain 100 yards away from her. He can have no contact with her except for through talking parents. And that's what happened that day. And it's been 1 hour. I kind of need to take a restroom break. You guys want to take a quick 10-minute break and we'll come back and finish the rest of this? I think we're going to get through it.
Real quick question. Just because of the male-female dynamics within some of these things, was she married then?
Yes.
Her
Because-
husband was an elder. Yep.
Because he approached her husband when he found out she was trying to support me. He approached her husband and told her husband he needs to admonish and discipline his wife.
Remember that letter we showed you?